So, Raymond, it's official. Deshaun Watson has formally requested a trade from Houston. Apparently, he put this request in several weeks ago. This is probably the worst kept secret in the NFL, but today, that trade has been made official. So I ask you, Raymond, when this news dropped today, what do you think Jimmy G did? What was his reaction? What is he doing in response to the news that Watson is looking for a trade?
Well, the first thing he's doing is probably regurgitating his protein shake. The next thing he's probably doing is actually looking through his contract to figure out, oh my God, I do have a trade clause, right? I do have a trade clause. I have some leverage in this deal if they decide to ship me off. He's also having his agent come over and inject his legs with steroids to gain at least 15 pounds of muscle for mobility's sake. Or in addition to that, he's also swallowing those Acme muscle growth pills that the Wile E. Coyote used to drink so that he could gain as much speed as the Road Runner, because he needs every edge he can get at this point. Because if he doesn't, and the Niners are willing to spend, then Jimmy G's going somewhere, and it's not San Francisco.
Oh, you forgot he's also, with his one free arm, he's lifting that barbell, the dumbbell. He's lifting
That's
the
right.
dumbbell.
He's also lifting weights.
Yep, that one free arm. Going, son of a bitch, man.
This is the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom! All right, Ray. Here we go. It is time. Deshaun Watson has requested a trade, and it is out. It is full. I mean, this is like I already said, this is the worst kept secret in the NFL. We've all known about this for weeks, but it's been made official. It's become public knowledge. And of course, 49ers Twitter, 49ers Instagram instantly went crazy with this. I mean, I was thinking about this. Candlestick Will talked about this a couple months ago, about how if you lose us a Super Bowl, you're like out. You're out. We don't care how good you are. You're out. I don't agree necessarily, but the one person I've been thinking about in all of this, Raymond, is Jimmy G. Like, I mean, he's got to be tripping out, right? Like, I mean, obviously he hasn't, to my knowledge, I haven't read anything that he's made any statements about it. He did talk about this several weeks ago. The one thing he did address is that he did say that that things can change very quickly in the NFL, and he understands that, and that right now, he feels secure in his place with the 49ers, and they told him that, but that, things can change in an instant. I mean, he was supposed to be the heir to Tom Brady with New England, and then before you knew it, he was out, and before you knew it, he was in San Francisco playing in a Super Bowl for us. So, things can change on a dime, and that's pretty much all he said. But I feel like, I mean, he's got to hear all this. He sees it. It's like every week, any quarterback who is potentially not happy with their team is all of a sudden in trade talks to San Francisco. Whether or not it's actually really happening, I think half the time this is just their agents drumming up business and just making noise to raise the value of their clients. That's honestly, I think, what's happening more than anything. But, I mean, right, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Jimmy G's perspective on this? This has got to be bugging the crap out of him, right?
Well, I mean, Jimmy G's kind of a quiet guy. He's not a spotlight guy. He's not a social media guy. He's just not that. He's very similar to Joe Montana in that regard, because Joe Montana was a very, introverted, anti-spotlight kind of guy, kind of. Now, Jimmy's not rude to fans. Joe Montana, there's actually rumors of him just kind of, he gets irritated with his stardom, whereas Jimmy's not necessarily irritated with it, but he definitely doesn't go out of his way to embrace it. And I think if he was in a formal interview and they were asking him about all this stuff, which I'm sure they're sending him emails trying to get comments because that's what reporters are supposed to do. But at the same time, Jimmy just does a good job of ignoring it all. But I think if he was in an interview, he would just say, that's the nature of the game. I'm just focusing on, I'm a San Francisco 49ers. I'm the quarterback here. I'm just focusing on, getting my body ready for the upcoming season. Yeah, all of the PR typical comments. That's what he would say. As to what he's feeling inside, really deep down, I don't know. I think one thing's for sure. and this was alluded to in his, end of the season press conference, he's definitely feeling the pressure of criticism around him in regards to his durability, because the one thing he did say is he said the first order of business in the offseason is working on his durability. He knows that he has a little bit of a fragile body that tends to get taken out of either most or all of a season every other year. And if you want to sustain yourself in the NFL, if you don't want to, be another not for long guy, then you've got to be able to last health wise. And he knows that that's a big focus. So I think he's feeling that pressure. That pressure, I think, is bigger than the Deshaun Watson one, because he has to have some inkling, knowing that, like, okay, he has no trade clause, so he kind of has a say. If they come to him and say, hey, we're thinking about trading you because we need Deshaun Watson, we can't have both you on the roster at the same time, but we also want to make sure that, and Jimmy would say, like, I don't want to just go anywhere. I don't want to go to rebuilding Texans. They've got David Culley, who I didn't even hear his name until he got hired by Houston as a viable candidate. I mean, that's how uninteresting this guy was to the rest of the league.
He was a wide receivers position coach for the Ravens. I don't know last time you saw the Ravens. Not exactly that they're lighting up the scoreboard with a high-flying pass offense.
And the last time we hired a head coach, I believe it was Jim Tom Sula, from position coach to head coach. And we all know how that went. That was a guaranteed one and done from the very beginning. Everyone knew it except for Jim Tom Sula, but he still made out like a rich bandit because you got to get paid. Those are contracts. And so good for him. And he's back in the NFL, back where he belongs as a defensive line coach anyways. And he's a millionaire on top of that. So good for him. But at the same time, I think, Jimmy doesn't want to go there. That's why I think, along with all the other, speculative reports, all the hypotheticals, all have the 49ers either involving one or more teams in order to get the trade done, because Jimmy's going somewhere other than the Houston Texans. But the Houston Texans, what they're getting is first round picks so that they can get a quarterback, because they obviously need one at this point. Again, hypothetically, if they were to trade Watson. But to me, that's what he's thinking. I think he's thinking, focus on your body, because that's the main thing that's going to get you. The only reason why they would even consider that is because you're not healthy enough to stay on the field. It has nothing to do with your talent. It has everything to do with your health. If he's been healthy and they just came up short in the playoffs, this would not be that big of a deal. But the health is a big factor. Deshaun Watson's been healthy. In fact, he's been to multiple Pro Bowls. This guy lit up the league and led the league in multiple categories on a 4-12 team. There's a big difference. You're talking about the number 2, and this was said by I forget who else said this too, but I read it somewhere else. But he is widely considered to be the second best quarterback in all of football, which is why I put him on my list. It's Mahomes 1. You always got to give the champ number 1 if he's deserving. Not every quarterback who's won a Super Bowl is deserving of being crowned the best quarterback in the league, i.e. Trent Dilfers of the world and Brad Johnson of Tampa Bay back in the day. But I think Mahomes is the bona fide number 1, and Deshaun Watson is definitely number 2 by a mile. I don't even know who the number 3 is. Like a 3-way tie between all the old quarterbacks, the old guard. Maybe and Josh Allen's starting to creep up there too. I'd say Josh Allen's top 5, maybe not top 3 yet, but I mean, he just lost an AFC Championship game, so he's obviously really close. But anyways, I digress. That is the if you want to learn more about the Bills and what Josh Allen's doing in the offseason as he recovers from the AFC Championship loss, you've got to go to the Get Drunk and Jump on Top of a Table cast. Yes. You've got to go to the Tatanka cast, which is Native American tongue for buffalo. What are the other casts that you listen to?
Well, there's the elbow drop table cast.
Ah, yes.
There's the Macho cast, which is actually a cast about Macho Man and the Buffalo Bills put together. It only has 3 subs, but again, friends of the show.
Yes, really good friends of the show. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think his primary focus has got to be his health more than anything. I mean, that's the one issue everyone has with Jimmy G. And unfortunately, we haven't seen enough of him to really determine if if where he really is. Is he a quarterback that's capable of evolving like Steve Young and becoming one of the best in the league, or is he going to de-evolve like Jared Goff and become a nothing?
But what's the irony though? The irony of what you just said is, Steve Young had to evolve into an elite pocket passer, which he did. Jimmy G has to evolve into a more balanced pocket passer / scrambler, because the lack of scrambling is what's got him into these injuries. Although with the exception of the week 3 in 2018, when he did scramble and tried to make a cut instead of going out of bounds, which cost him his ACL against Kansas City, no less.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other injury, the ankle injury, that's just getting rolled up on because he was in the pocket. And, again, that's part of that is pocket awareness too. It doesn't mean you have to scramble for 10 yards, but it does mean you perhaps have to move. You've got to move in the pocket, either stepping up to the pocket, stepping out of the pocket. Just get out of harm's way and then make that throw. Don't sit there and just lean on your offensive, because our offensive line has played like garbage the last couple of years, or not last year, but I mean this past season they played horrible, and we just didn't have the health there either. We had a brand new left tackle in Trent Williams. He was mostly good, but our center was rotating in and out. We didn't have the center all year, and then the backup center got injured, and so guys had to be moved around from positions they didn't normally play, playing swing tackle as when they normally don't. So that played a huge contribution into like how many sacks we were giving up. Just the pass protection was horrible. But again, if the pass protection is bad, you've got to be of the mindset that you've got to do more than just sit in the pocket. Colin Kaepernick was a little bit on the extreme side of that, where if the offensive line was going to break down on him, then he would just take off automatically. One read, nope, pocket collapses, bam, I'm out of that pocket. I'm going to scramble. That was his. It was good. It was a double-edged sword. It was good at times, and then it was horrible at times because we needed him to throw the ball more often than run. And you can't play the game like Lamar Jackson and expect to go deep into the playoffs, which they did not. Well, they got past one round, but I mean he's 1-2 is his record, and so clearly that style it doesn't work. It is not work. It's not long sustaining. You've got to learn how to pass better if you want to get better in this league. It can't just be one or the other. In Jimmy's case, the league has evolved where the league now embraces and encourages mobile quarterbacks to more so than ever before. Remember, Steve Young was the prototype of all of these guys. There were guys before him like Randall Cunningham and what's his name? The Raiders quarterback. He was a good scrambler too. But I mean, like these guys, that wasn't the norm. Now it is the norm. And now Jimmy's kind of an outlier where his style of quarterbacking, the Tom Brady's of the world, that style is now outdated. So Jimmy's got to evolve somehow, and he's got to adapt. And one of those things involves you got to put on some muscle. You got to do something to toughen up. That's the only thing I can think of is you got to gain muscle. So hopefully he'll be able to do that. But I mean, but again, going back to what you were saying, it's ironic that in where we're at now with the evolution of the league at the quarterback position, because in Jimmy G's case, he's got to do the opposite of what Steve Young did.
Yeah, he's got to move more like Steve Young and be less of a pocket passer. It's just funny how things evolve and how the game constantly is changing and moving in different directions. That's why it's the best sport in the world. All right, Raymond. So Warriors did a pretty good job. They swept the Timberwolves. First game was 130-108. It was just a royal ass whooping. Second game was a little bit closer. Warriors still come out on top, 123-111. And then that back-to-back comes to haunt us. In Phoenix, we get, I believe the technical term for this is a royal ass whooping, 114-93 in favor of the Suns. Let's talk a little bit about the Warriors. Once again, two up, two down. That's kind of been the name of the game for these guys all year.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, they've just lost one. So if they can win the next game, then they can kind of avoid that dreaded pattern. But so far, it's always win a couple, lose one, win one, lose one. It's win two, lose two, win one, lose one. It kind of goes back and forth between that pattern. So I'd love to see them win the last 3 out of 4. That would be nice. But to be fair, they did have to play a back-to-back. So they beat the Timberwolves last night. Then they had to travel to Phoenix tonight to play, and they just look sluggish, which is just it's just the nature of NBA is not meant to be played back to back. It's too intense of a sport. The cardiovascular demand of basketball is just not really. It's not designed to to be played optimally when you have to play back to backs. That's why in the playoffs they play every other night, because it's not the way that you should be playing basketball. And I realize that the regular season they obviously make concessions with that, and most of the games are split up, but the Warriors have done a couple back-to-backs this season already, and each time they always lose the second game. And this is not just a Warriors phenomenon. This is a league-wide phenomenon, because it's just not, again, it's very akin to the Thursday night game in the NFL. You can't play a game like the NFL on a half a week turnaround time, just like you can't play an NBA game after playing NBA basketball the night before. It just doesn't work. I mean, they obviously can play. They obviously finished the game. Nobody got injured or died. It's not nothing extreme like that. But the point is that like they didn't look the way that they played against the Timberwolves. Fast, defensive, on the glass, accurate with shooting, great defensive effort. Most of the starters playing excellent two-way basketball. You didn't see any of that in this game. From the little I saw, I didn't get to watch the whole game, but from what little I saw, they were just absolutely slugs out there. It just looked like the Warriors did, in the first two games.
Yeah, they look tired. They're just tired.
They just look tired. Yeah. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but going back to the Timberwolves game, those were fantastic contests. I mean, everyone played great. Wiggins. This has turned out to be such a good trade. D'Angelo Russell was always going to be a future trade piece, and it has worked out wonderfully so far this season. Again, this guy was fantastic. He scored 22 points in the first game, 19 points. I'm sorry. He scored 23 points in the first game, 19 points in the second game. He was fantastic. He was great on a defensive. What I love about Wiggins is if you look at the tape, he actually gets beat quite a bit. But where he makes his money defensively is on his catch-up speed to recover whoever he was guarding that got past him. A lot of his blocks are coming from catching up from players from the behind, which is fantastic, and that's really hard to do, which is a testament to his speed. He's sneaky fast. And again, the adjustment to move Kevon Looney to center, I think that just paid great dividends for the Warriors' defensive efforts in the first quarter and overall in the first half. I think it's great. I think it's the way that they should go. And then as Wiseman develops, you can move him back into the lineup. From what I understand, they're going to be going back and forth between him and Looney. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And again, Wiseman, what more can I say about this kid? He 25 points in the second game, including 3 for 3 from downtown in game 2. This kid is just amazing. He scored 13 points in the previous game, so he's getting double digits every single game, just about. I think his last bad game was against the Lakers when they were in foul trouble, and they still won that game. So again, nothing but just excitement around this player. This is going to be pretty amazing once Clay gets back, because when you have the Splash Brothers back together on the same court with a James Wiseman in the center, and you have a Draymond Green at defender, and whoever else in that other spot, I mean, this is going to be, this is going to be an elite starting lineup, no doubt about it.
It is. I really look forward to it. And even though, it's up and down, they're still a really fun team to watch. Really, really fun. So
they are. And Oubre Jr. has been playing fantastic too. I forgot to mention him. He's finally woken up. The 3 balls going down much better than it as it should. Much more reminiscent of his actual shooting percentage from downtown. And this is another player that's terrific on both ends of the floor. He plays good defense, and he's aggressive on defense. He likes defense. He's good. He understands. There's just so many good defenders on this club right now that it's really fun to watch, just because before it was they would blow out opponents, but they'd still play pretty good defense, above average defense, but they also had the most explosive offense in the entire association. This time they don't really have that, but they have enough guys there to be an elite defense. And that's pretty exciting, because that's absolutely what they need to lean in on if they want to make a run for, a bottom seed playoff position.
Yeah, and so as we've said many times to the entire GoldCast Nation, if you're not watching the Warriors, watch the Warriors. Click in, tune in. It's great. It's great team, scrappy, young, fun little team to watch. Definitely not our dynasty Warriors, and I know it's a lot funner when we're in the middle of a dynasty, but still a really exciting team to watch. All right, so what say you, GoldCast Empire? What do you think is Jimmy G's focus be this offseason? We think it's health. I think that's pretty much a guaranteed one. And also, how do you feel about the Warriors? Let us know in the comments. Go to youtube.com/thegoldcast and let us know what you think about this. Should we make the trade for Jimmy G? Should we do this three-way trade with New England, Houston, and San Francisco? Let us know your thoughts. I think this is pretty unrealistic, but you never know. And so concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
Boom! We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.